The night was alive with strange sounds, hissing winds and the crackle of alien fireflies that floated in the dark sky. The small camp at the edge of the alien village was quiet, but no one dared sleep. All eyes were fixed on the cage at the center, a cage made from black metal that looked like it had been pulled from the bones of the earth. Inside it, something moved. The alien girl stood tall before the cage. Her skin shimmered faint blue under the moonlight, and her long silver hair fell down her shoulders. But her eyes, glowing like embers, were locked on the creature inside. It was her pet, her pride, and her terror. The beast snarled, shaking the bars of the cage. Its claws scraped metal, sparks flew, and the villagers gasped. It wasn't just an animal. It was a savage thing, fangs dripping, skin covered with spikes, eyes burning red with fury. Many believed it had killed before. Many whispered that one day it would kill again, but the girl never looked afraid. She whispered in her alien tongue, soft and low, almost like a song. The monster paused, tilting its head, but then growled louder, smashing against the cage. The ground shook. Children screamed. That was when the human stepped forward. He was not like the others. His clothes were simple, torn from travel, his boots dusty from long walks across the alien lands. He carried no weapons, no glowing blades, no laser rifle on his back. Only a strange satchel hung at his side. His calm brown eyes watched the cage, unblinking, steady, while others trembled. The alien girl turned, her voice sharp. "Stay back, human. This is not your place. You cannot control him." The human tilted his head, a small smile crossing his lips. "Maybe not control," he said softly. "But maybe change." Laughter burst from the crowd. The villagers mocked him. Change? This savage beast had broken chains of iron. It had bitten through energy restraints. Soldiers with spears of light had failed to tame it, and yet this lone human thought he could change it? Impossible. But the girl's face grew serious. She stepped closer to him. "You don't understand. He is mine, he is wild. His blood remembers the wars of our ancestors. He cannot be broken." The human's voice stayed calm. "Maybe he doesn't need breaking." He tapped his satchel and crouched. From the bag, he pulled out something small, round and strange. A simple bubble blower. The alien girl frowned. The villagers leaned forward, confused. What was this weak human doing? He dipped the stick into a liquid flask and blew. A single bubble floated out, shimmering under the alien moonlight. The bubble drifted toward the cage, spinning slowly. The monster's red eyes followed it. For the first time, the beast stopped snarling. Its head tilted, its growl faded. The bubble landed on its nose and popped with a soft sound. The crowd froze. The monster blinked. Its red eyes softened for a moment, as if confusion had replaced rage. The human blew another bubble and another. They floated through the air, glowing in the moonlight. Fragile yet beautiful. The savage pet, once thrashing and furious, now stood still, staring in wonder. The bubbles touched its spikes and burst softly. The beast leaned closer, sniffing, following them like a child. The alien girl's breath caught in her throat. She had never seen her pet so calm. The human smiled again, blowing more bubbles until the cage was full of drifting, shining spheres. The savage beast opened its jaws not to bite but to catch them. Its tongue reached out, its claws swiped gently, playing instead of killing. The villagers were silent. For the first time, they didn't see a monster. They saw something else, something almost innocent. But the girl's heart raced. She should have been relieved, yet a strange fire burned in her chest. This was her pet, her beast, her bond. And now this human had reduced it to a bubble-chasing fool. Was it magic? Was it trickery? Or was it something far more dangerous? She clenched her fists. "What have you done to him?" she hissed. The human looked at her calmly. "I didn't do anything. I only showed him another way." The beast suddenly let out a strange sound, a playful roar, almost like laughter. The bubbles shimmered brighter, filling the cage with light. The villagers gasped again, unsure if they were witnessing peace or the beginning of something worse. The alien girl stepped back, her mind torn between anger and fear. Her savage pet was no longer savage. It was changing, and she did not understand why. And deep inside the cage, the creature's body trembled. The bubbles were not just calming it. They were merging with its skin, clinging like liquid crystal, wrapping around it in layers. Slowly, the savage pet was becoming something new. The villagers did not move, not even to breathe. Their savage terror had become a glittering show of floating bubbles, and they could not believe what their eyes were seeing. The human stood calm, blowing one bubble after another. his breath slow, his hands steady, while the savage beast inside the cage stared like a child seeing light for the first time. But the alien girl's chest burned with confusion. This was not right. Her pet was supposed to be feared. It was supposed to be strong, untamable, a symbol of her bloodline's power, and yet here it was, chasing fragile bubbles like a harmless cub. Her lips trembled, her fists shook. She wanted to scream, but no words came out. The human stopped blowing for a moment and looked at the creature. The monster tilted its head, waiting, hungry for more bubbles. And then something strange happened. A bubble did not pop when it touched the beast's skin. Instead, it stuck, glowing softly. Another landed and another. Soon small patches of bubbles clung to the creature's spikes, crawling across its body like living orbs. The villagers gasped, stepping back. "What is this?" whispered one. "Is it dying?" asked another. The alien girl's eyes widened. She pressed closer to the bars of the cage, staring as the beast shook itself, but the bubbles refused to fall. Instead, they spread. Its red eyes flickered, its growls turned to low, trembling rumbles. The air around the cage shifted, vibrating with a hum that made the ground quiver. The human frowned. This was not what he expected. His plan had been simple. Use the bubbles to distract, to show the beast harmless things it had never known before. But this was something else. The alien girl spun on him, her voice sharp and furious. "What did you do? What poison is this? Tell me now." The human shook his head. "It's not poison, it's reaction." "Reaction?" she snapped, stepping closer to him. "You dare play with my pet's blood? You dare twist him into this shame?" Her voice cracked, and for the first time, anger mixed with something deeper, fear. Inside the cage, the creature's body shuddered. The bubbles grew larger, sticking like soft armor plates. They pulsed with light, shifting colors, blue, purple, gold. The savage beast let out a roar, but the sound was different now. It was muffled, distorted as though trapped inside a bubble itself. The villagers stumbled backward, terrified once again. One of the elders shouted, "It is mutating. End it before it grows worse." Spears of light were raised, and the crowd braced for violence. But the girl threw out her hand, her voice breaking. "No, he is mine. No one touches him." Her words silenced the villagers, but not their fear. They trembled, clutching their weapons, eyes darting between the girl and the cage. The human's eyes stayed locked on the creature. He could see it. Something was happening on a level beyond sight. The liquid in his bubble mix wasn't ordinary. It was a human formula, built from small experiments he had made during his travels. A mix of harmless compounds, harmless to humans, but perhaps not harmless here. Perhaps this alien biology was reacting in ways he could not control. The beast slammed against the cage again, but not with rage, with energy. The bars bent outward, metal screeching. The villagers screamed, children ran behind their mothers, and the elders shouted in panic. The alien girl's heart hammered. She wanted to call her pet's name, to soothe him with her voice, but her throat was dry. She had always believed she shared a bond with him, stronger than anyone else. But now, watching the bubbles consume him, she felt like a stranger to the creature she thought she knew. The beast's skin rippled. Bubbles grew across its chest, its back, even its jaws. Its claws, once dripping blood and rage, now glistened with layers of shimmering spheres. It opened its mouth wide, and instead of a roar, a stream of glowing bubbles poured out. They floated into the sky, hundreds at once, drifting upward like lanterns of doom. The villagers fell to their knees, some crying, some praying. They thought the sky itself was breaking. The human's face grew pale. "This is not what I planned," he whispered. The alien girl spun on him, her voice trembling with fury. "You said change, human. This is no change. This is a curse." But even as she shouted, a strange sound filled the air. It was not a roar. It was not a growl. It was something between laughter and song. The beast's red eyes glowed brighter, and the bubbles around its body pulsed like beating hearts. For the first time, the alien girl felt something worse than fear. She felt powerless. Her savage pet was gone. In its place stood something new, something wild, something that was no longer hers to command. And as the bubbles rose higher into the night sky, glowing like stars, the villagers whispered one word, trembling. The night sky glowed with bubbles drifting upward, glowing like stars that refused to fade. The villagers huddled together, fear thick in the air, their whispers rising like a storm. The alien girl stood frozen, her silver hair shining under the moon, her hands trembling. This was her pet, her companion, her pride. Now it had turned into something she no longer recognized. The human stepped forward, his eyes steady but his jaw tense. He's changing, not because of me, but because of what was already inside him. The girl's head snapped toward him, fury flashing in her ember-bright eyes. Liar! You touched him, you fed him your strange tricks, your bubbles. You humiliated him in front of my people. Do you think I cannot see? You made him weak. You made him a joke. Her voice carried across the camp like a blade. The villagers, once afraid, now turned their eyes toward the human with suspicion. A few raised their spears again, their voices echoing hers. The human cursed it. He cursed the beast. The human lifted his hands, his voice calm. No, I tried to show peace. But this is something deeper. He was never just savage. He was carrying something inside, waiting for release. The alien girl's rage boiled over. She strode closer, her face inches from his, her fists clenched. You dare speak as if you know him? You dare pretend to understand what I have fed, raised, and chained with my own hands? He is mine. My blood runs through him. My bond holds him, not your weak human tricks. The beast slammed the cage again, and the bars bent further. Bubbles poured from its mouth, thousands at once, glowing bright. The air thickened with strange humming sounds. The villagers fell to the ground, covering their ears, while children cried. The girl's anger cracked into fear. Her voice shook as she shouted, "Stop! Listen to me, obey me." She called his name again and again in her alien tongue, words of command, words of love, but the creature did not listen. Its eyes, once burning red with rage, now glowed with a new light, blue, cold, and distant. The human grabbed her arm, pulling her back from the cage as the beast lunged. She jerked away from his touch, her eyes wild. Do not touch me. Do not tell me what to do. This is your fault, human. You ruined him. The crowd shouted louder now, their voices filled with fear and anger. Some cried to kill the beast before it escaped. Others demanded the human's head for his sorcery. The girl turned on them, her rage cutting like fire. Silence, he is mine. Anyone who dares strike him will answer to me. The villagers froze, torn between terror of the beast and loyalty to the girl. She was young, but her bloodline was noble. Her words carried weight even in madness. The human shook his head, his voice quiet but strong. You still don't see. He is no longer your pet. He is no longer anything you can claim. The girl's hands trembled. She wanted to strike him, to silence his calm voice that cut deeper than any blade. She wanted to deny his words. But when she turned back to the cage, she knew he was right. The beast was changing too quickly, too far. The bubbles pulsed like veins, covering its body, shifting its shape. Its claws dripped light instead of blood. Its roar shook the ground, but its sound carried strange harmony like a twisted song. Her heart broke with each breath. She remembered the nights she had fed him scraps by firelight. She remembered the battles where he had stood beside her, his fury keeping enemies at bay. She remembered believing he was part of her soul. And now before her eyes he was slipping away. Her rage returned, fiercer than before, but it was no longer just at the human. It was at herself. At the villagers who stared. At the sky that refused to listen. At the beast that had betrayed her bond. She screamed, a raw cry that echoed across the camp. I will not lose him. I will not. She charged toward the cage, ignoring the human's hand reaching to stop her. Sparks of light burst as the beast smashed the bars one final time and metal shattered across the ground. The villagers scattered, shouting in terror. The cage fell apart and the monster stepped free. Its body was no longer just flesh and spikes. It was wrapped in layers of living bubbles, glowing and shifting, pulsing with every breath. It looked like a nightmare wrapped in beauty, a monster born from fragile glass. The girl fell to her knees as the creature walked past her, no longer recognizing her voice, no longer seeing her as master or friend or bond. Her rage burned her chest, tears stinging her eyes. She looked at the human, her voice breaking with fury and despair. If I lose him, human, I swear I will destroy you with my own hands. The human said nothing. His eyes stayed on the monster that walked into the night, glowing like a walking storm. The girl clenched her fists, her body shaking, her rage boiling into something darker. This was no longer about a pet. This was war inside her heart, and the night was only beginning. The alien night had never been so silent. The villagers hid inside their huts, trembling, clutching each other as the glowing bubbles floated past their doors. The savage pet, now twisted into a bubble-coated monster, moved freely through the dark streets. Its every step made the ground shake, Its every breath filled the air with hundreds of shimmering orbs that glowed like tiny moons. The human stood at the edge of the broken cage, watching the creature vanish into the night. His face was calm, but his mind was racing. He had wanted to calm the beast, not create something worse. He glanced at the alien girl. She still knelt on the ground, her fists pressed against the dirt, her eyes full of rage and tears. "You saw it," the human said softly. "It didn't even look at you." Her head snapped up, her silver hair falling into her face. "Shut your mouth. You don't know him. You don't know me." Her voice was sharp, but her body trembled. Before he could answer, a scream shattered the silence. From the far side of the village, a boy's cry rose, sharp and desperate. Then another scream followed, higher, piercing. The girl jumped to her feet. "No," she whispered. She ran, her bare feet pounding the dirt road, her glowing eyes wide. The human followed close behind. When they reached the open square, they saw it. The bubble monster towered above the villagers. Its claws glistened with spheres of light, and its jaw dripped glowing foam. Around its feet, 3 children struggled, trapped inside huge bubbles that floated just above the ground. They pounded against the thin walls, their cries muffled, their eyes wide with terror. The villagers threw spears of light, but the weapons passed straight through the bubbles, bending as if the air itself rejected them. Every strike failed. The monster roared, and the bubbles carried the children higher into the air, lifting them slowly, cruelly toward the black sky. The alien girl screamed her pet's name, her voice raw, her hands stretched out, but the monster ignored her. Its red eyes, now glowing blue, stared coldly at the human instead. The human stepped forward. "He remembers me," he whispered under his breath. He reached into his satchel, pulling out the small flask of bubble liquid. His mind raced. Was there still a way to control it, or was he only feeding the curse? The alien girl grabbed his wrist, her eyes burning. "No tricks. Give him back to me. He is mine." "He's not yours anymore," the human said. His voice was calm, but his heart was hammering. "If we don't act, those children will be gone." The monster moved suddenly. It swung its massive arm, and a wave of bubbles exploded outward. They spread like a storm, covering the square, wrapping around villagers. Men and women screamed as they were lifted from the ground, trapped inside floating prisons. Their voices faded as the bubbles carried them into the night. Panic filled the air. The alien girl's face twisted with horror, then fury. She ripped a spear of light from a fallen warrior and charged straight at the beast. Her voice cracked with rage as she shouted, "If you won't obey, then I'll kill you myself." The human shouted after her, but it was too late. She leapt high, her spear aimed for the monster's chest. The glowing bubbles around its body pulsed, and in an instant, the weapon was swallowed. It dissolved like smoke. The beast roared, and the shockwave sent the girl crashing to the ground. She rolled across the dirt, gasping for breath. The human ran to her side, pulling her up. "You can't fight him like this. He's changed." She spat blood, her face twisted with rage. "He is mine. If I must burn with him, then I will." The monster roared again, louder than before. The bubbles carrying the children rose higher, now almost at the treetops. Villagers cried, reaching out helplessly. The human knew he had no choice. He dipped the stick into the flask and blew hard. Dozens of bubbles floated into the air, flying toward the monster. The creature paused, its glowing eyes narrowing, watching the bubbles drift closer. It reached out, catching them, swallowing them into its shimmering body. For a moment its roar softened, its body trembling. The human's heart leapt. "It's working." But then the ground shook harder. The bubbles inside the monster's body pulsed brighter, swelling larger. Its claws scraped the air and its roar twisted into something new, half fury, half laughter. The alien girl's face went pale. "You're feeding him," she shouted. The human froze, horror sinking in. She was right. The bubbles weren't calming the beast anymore, they were fueling it. Every bubble he gave only made it stronger. The monster's body expanded, its bubble shell growing thicker, its glowing light brighter. The floating children screamed louder as their bubbles carried them even higher into the black sky. The girl grabbed the human by the collar, her voice raw with rage and terror. "You've doomed us all." The human's chest tightened, but his eyes stayed fixed on the monster. "Then we have to find another way." The girl's hand shook as she released him. Her rage had not cooled, it had only sharpened. She glared at him as if she would kill him herself. But for the first time, she also knew he was the only one standing between them and destruction. Above them, the bubble monster spread its arms wide, glowing brighter than the stars. And then, with a roar that cracked the sky, it began its first true attack. The ground shook as the monster's roar thundered across the night sky, its bubble-covered body glowing like a storm of glass and fire. The children trapped inside floating orbs screamed for help as the bubbles carried them higher, their voices muffled and fading. The villagers cried out, torn between running for their lives and falling to their knees in despair. The human stood firm, sweat dripping down his face, his chest heaving. He had seen monsters before, but nothing like this. This was not just an animal anymore. It was something new, something wrong. The bubbles clung to it like armor, pulsing with power. Each step it took sent ripples through the ground, shaking huts and knocking down walls. The alien girl pulled herself to her feet, her silver hair tangled, her glowing eyes wild. She glared at the human, her voice sharp with fury. "This is your doing. You made him into this thing. You turned my pet into a monster." The human shook his head, his voice steady but urgent. "No, he was already becoming this. I only sped it up. If we fight each other now, those children will die." Her chest rose and fell quickly, her breath sharp. She wanted to strike him down, to end his calm words that cut at her pride, but her eyes went back to the sky, to the children's faces pressed against the walls of their glowing prisons. Tears burned her cheeks. She clenched her fists. She hated him, but she hated losing them more. The monster roared again and turned, walking toward the edge of the village. With every step, more bubbles spilled from its body, drifting into the air, covering the ground. Each bubble hummed like a drum, sending shivers down spines. The villagers fled into the forest, crying, tripping over roots, desperate to escape. The human grabbed the girl's arm. "We can't let it reach the forest. If it does, it will spread. It won't stop at children. It will cover everything." She jerked her arm free, her eyes blazing. "Then I will hunt him myself." Without waiting, she ran after the beast, her bare feet pounding the dirt, her spear of light gripped tight in her hand. Her rage fueled her steps, but her heart pounded with something else too. Fear. Fear that the bond she thought she had was gone forever. The human cursed under his breath and followed. His boots struck the ground hard, his satchel bouncing against his side. He didn't know if he could stop this thing. He only knew he had to try. The chase began. The bubble monster moved faster than any beast should, its massive body glowing with eerie light as it crossed fields and hills. The alien girl leapt over stones and streams, chasing close behind, her voice breaking as she shouted its name again and again. But the creature never looked back. The human followed, his legs burning, his lungs tight. He tried to think. Every hunter had a weakness. Every beast had a limit. If he could just understand the bubbles, maybe he could find a way to stop it. But the answer stayed out of reach. They reached the forest. The trees bent under the glow of drifting orbs. The monster's roar shook the branches, sending birds into the night. The children's bubbles floated higher, their cries faint now, almost lost. The alien girl stopped, gasping for breath. Her eyes filled with tears as she stared at the glowing figure moving deeper into the woods. "He doesn't hear me. He doesn't know me anymore." The human placed a hand on her shoulder. She spun toward him, ready to strike, but stopped when she saw his eyes. There was no mockery, no pride. Only the same fear she felt. "We hunt him together," he said firmly. "Not as yours, not as mine, but as something too dangerous to let live." Her hands shook. She hated the words, hated admitting the truth, but deep in her chest she knew he was right. Slowly she nodded, her jaw tight. The hunt pressed on. They followed the glowing trail through the forest, the ground littered with bubbles that popped under their steps. Each one hissed, releasing strange sounds. Laughter, whispers, screams that were not their own. The girl shivered, her grip tightening on her spear. Suddenly, the monster stopped in a clearing. Its massive body pulsed with light, and it lowered its head toward the trapped children. The bubbles holding them quivered, glowing brighter. The girl's eyes widened. "He's feeding on them." The human stomach dropped. The monster wasn't just capturing them. It was draining them, pulling their life into itself, growing stronger with every second. The girl screamed in fury and charged. Her spear sliced through the air, striking one of the glowing bubbles around the monster's arm. It burst with a loud crack, spraying light and smoke. The beast roared, turning its glowing eyes on her. The human shouted, running to her side, but the monster moved faster. It swung its massive arm, bubbles exploding outward in a wave. The girl was thrown back, crashing into the dirt. the human dove pulling her up just as the monster's claws smashed into the ground where she had fallen. Together, they scrambled to their feet, standing shoulder to shoulder. The human's voice was low but firm. It's not just a hunt anymore. This is war. The monster roared again, its glowing body towering above them, its eyes burning cold. The hunt had only just begun. The forest clearing burned with an eerie glow. Bubbles floated like ghostly lanterns between the trees, their soft hums filling the night. The bubble monster stood in the center, towering, its body a shifting storm of light and glass. Its claws dripped glowing foam, its chest pulsed with energy, and its eyes burned cold blue. The children inside their bubbles drifted higher, their tiny hands pressed against invisible walls, their cries almost too faint to hear. The alien girl stood with her spear ready, her silver hair tangled, her face streaked with dirt and tears. Rage boiled in her chest, but it was mixed with despair. She could not see her pet anymore. That bond she had believed unbreakable was gone. Smothered beneath the shining monster, she clenched her spear tighter. Beside her, the human's jaw was firm, his breathing heavy. His mind raced, searching for answers. He had made mistakes. He had underestimated the danger. But he would not run. He looked at the girl, saw the fire in her eyes, and nodded once. "This is it," he said quietly. "If we don't stop him here, there won't be a tomorrow." The monster roared, the sound echoing through the trees, shaking branches until leaves rained down like falling stars. With that roar, dozens of new bubbles burst outward, racing toward the humans. Each one shimmered, humming as if alive. "Move," the human shouted. They dove aside as the bubbles slammed into the ground. Where they touched, the earth cracked, glowing with light before exploding into sparks. The girl rolled to her feet, spinning her spear, slashing at the bubbles rushing toward her. Each one burst with a scream that didn't belong to her, a voice stolen from some memory deep inside the beast. The human ducked low, dodging another wave. His mind screamed at him, "Think, think!" But every bubble, every flash of light was chaos. The monster stepped forward, each stride bending the ground, each roar spilling more glowing spheres. It reached for the children's bubbles, drawing them closer. Its claws pulsed with light, ready to absorb their life. The alien girl screamed in fury and charged. Her spear glowed brighter as she drove it deep into the monster's bubble arm. It burst in a blinding flash, spraying shards of light. The beast roared, stumbling back, its body shaking. For a moment, its eyes flickered red. The old eyes she remembered, her heart skipped. "It's still him," she shouted. "He's inside." But the light surged again, and the blue glow returned stronger. The beast roared louder, slamming its claw into the ground. The shock wave hurled her across the clearing. She hit the dirt hard, gasping, her spear rolling from her hand. The human ran to her, pulling her up. She clutched his arm, her eyes blazing. "I saw him. He's not gone yet. He's fighting inside. We can still reach him." The human's chest tightened. He wanted to believe. But the monster's towering form told a different story. Still, he couldn't crush her hope, not now. He nodded once. "Then we fight harder." They turned together, standing side by side. The monster bellowed, its arms spreading wide. Bubbles rose in swarms, filling the clearing like a sea of stars. Each one glowed brighter, humming louder until the forest itself seemed ready to break. The human reached into his satchel, pulling the last of his flask. His hands shook. "One more try," he whispered. He dipped the stick and blew. Dozens of bubbles floated out, drifting toward the monster. The girl gasped. "Stop, you'll feed it again." But these bubbles were different. The liquid was almost gone, the formula weaker, thinner. The bubbles shimmered faintly, fragile and fading fast. They drifted slowly, gently, like dying stars. The monster froze. Its glowing eyes followed them. Its chest pulsed slower. For a moment, its massive body trembled, uncertain. The girl's breath caught. "He remembers. He's watching." The monster reached out, claws trembling as though torn between hunger and memory. The human's voice rang out, firm and steady. "Remember who you were. You don't have to be this." The alien girl stepped forward, her voice breaking with tears. "Come back to me. Please, come back." The monster's body shook violently, bubbles bursting across its chest and arms. Its roar was no longer pure rage. It was pain, struggle, something trapped between two worlds. Then, with a sudden scream, it lashed out, smashing the ground. The last of the children's bubbles wobbled, cracking under the pressure. The kids fell toward the earth. The girl dropped her spear and sprinted. She caught one child in her arms, rolling across the dirt. The human leapt forward, grabbing the other two before they hit the ground. Their cries filled the air, sharp and real. The monster howled, its blue light flaring, its body swelling larger. It had lost its prey. It had lost control. The girl turned, clutching the child tight, her voice raw with desperation. "This is it. If we don't end him now, he will destroy everything." The human dropped the children safely behind him, his eyes fixed on the monster. His jaw tightened. He pulled a small device from his satchel, a hidden tool he had hoped never to use. A spark flickered across its edge. The monster roared again, stepping forward, each stride shaking the ground. The bubbles pulsed like beating hearts. The last stand had begun. The clearing glowed like a battlefield of stars. Bubbles drifted in swarms, bursting with sharp cracks that echoed through the night. The children huddled behind the human, their small faces pale, their bodies shaking. The alien girl clutched her spear again, her chest heaving, her silver hair wild. And before them stood the monster, once her pet, once her pride. Now a towering storm of light and rage. Its body pulsed with energy, bubbles spreading like armor, glowing brighter than the moon. Every step shook the ground. Every roar sent shockwaves through the trees. The forest itself seemed to bend under its power. The human's hand tightened around the small sparking device in his satchel. He had carried it for months, a last resort tool, a weapon designed to destabilize alien energy fields. It could end this monster, but it would also destroy what remained of the girl's bond. If he used it, her pet would be gone forever. The girl's eyes locked on him, fierce and desperate. "Give it to me," she demanded, pointing at the device. He shook his head. "You'll die if you use it." "You'll both die," her voice cracked with fury. "He is mine. If anyone ends him, it will be me." The monster roared, slamming its claws into the earth. A wave of bubbles exploded outward, rising high, covering the sky. The children screamed, clutching at the human's legs. He pulled them close, shielding them with his body as the wave rolled past. The girl charged, her spear glowing, her teeth clenched. She leapt, aiming straight for the monster's chest, but the beast swiped its massive claw, knocking her from the air. She hit the ground hard, pain shooting through her body. She coughed, blood staining her lips, but forced herself back up. The human rushed to her side. "Stop, you'll get yourself killed." She shoved him back, her eyes blazing with tears. "Then let me die." "Better that than watch him like this." Her voice cracked, breaking with pain. She had lost her bond, her pride, her soul. The only choice left was destruction. The human looked at her, then at the monster. His jaw tightened. "No, there's another way." He stepped forward, raising the device. Sparks hissed across its edge, humming like thunder. The monster froze, its glowing eyes narrowing. It remembered him. It remembered the one who had first blown the bubbles. The girl's voice shook. "What are you doing?" "Not destroying him," the human said, his voice low but steady. "Redirecting him. If he remembers me, I can draw him away." Her heart stopped. "You mean, you'll sacrifice yourself?" He didn't answer. His silence was enough. The monster roared again, its bubbles pulsing like drums, its massive body looming over them. The human stepped forward, each stride steady, fearless. He lifted the device higher, the sparks growing brighter. The alien girl's breath caught in her throat. She could not let him go alone. She ran forward, standing beside him, her spear trembling in her hands. "If you do this, human, you will not do it alone. If he dies, we both stand here." The human turned to her. For the first time, he smiled. Not in mockery, not in calm trickery, but with something deeper. Respect. The monster roared and charged. Its arms spread wide, bubbles exploding outward like a storm. The human raised the device. The girl raised her spear. Together, they thrust forward. The spark hit the bubbles and light exploded. The forest lit up brighter than day. The monster howled, its body writhing, bubbles bursting in violent waves. Its claws reached for them, but the energy tore through it, ripping the storm apart. The girl screamed, her voice breaking with grief and fury. "Come back to me!" For a brief moment, the monster's eyes flickered red again, a single heartbeat of recognition, a memory of loyalty. Then its body shattered, bursting into a storm of glowing bubbles that filled the sky. The night fell silent. The bubbles drifted upward, higher and higher, fading into the stars. The clearing was still. The children sobbed, clinging to the human's legs. The villagers crept from the shadows, their faces pale, their eyes wide. The alien girl collapsed to her knees, her spear falling to the ground. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered her pet's name, but there was no answer, only silence. The human knelt beside her, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "He chose in the end," he said softly. "He remembered you." She sobbed harder, her pride broken, her heart shattered. Yet deep inside she knew he was right. That last flicker of red had been him. For one final breath he had returned. The villagers bowed low, whispering in awe. They had witnessed the impossible. A savage beast turned into something no one could understand, destroyed not by chains or spears, but by the courage of a human and the desperate bond of a girl. The alien girl lifted her head slowly, her eyes still wet, her voice trembling. "He is gone, but you are not." She looked at the human, her gaze burning with something new. Not rage, not hate, something deeper. The human said nothing. He simply stood, lifting the children into his arms, carrying them toward the village. The girl followed, her steps heavy, her heart torn. She had lost everything. Yet in that loss she had found something she never expected. A human who refused to run, even when the galaxy itself turned against him. And as the last of the glowing bubbles vanished into the night sky, the villagers whispered one final word, their voices trembling with awe and fear. "Human."